शिवशक्तिसमारम्भां भास्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मच्छ्रीनाथपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रीनाथादिगुरुत्रयं गणपतिं पीठत्रयं भैरवं सिद्धौघं वटुकत्रयं पदयुगं दूतीक्रमं मण्डलम् वीराद्यष्टचतुष्कषष्टिनवकं वीरावळी पञ्चकं श्रीमन्मालिनी मन्त्रराजसहितं वन्दे गुरोर्मण्डलम्। श्रीविमर्शानन्दनाथं सत्याम्बासहितं गुरुं हृत्पद्मकर्णिका मध्ये भावयेत् सर्वसिद्धये। श्रीभासुरानन्दनाथाय नमः। श्रीभास्करराय गुरुमण्डलाय नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्।
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Shri Matre Namaha. Welcome to day 3 sadhana of this week on Soundaryalahari. We will now go through the chanting part of verse number 15.
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ
śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ
śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ
varatrasatrāna
varatrasatrāna varatrasatrāna
स्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम्
स्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम् स्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम्
वरत्रासत्राण स्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम्
वरत्रासत्राण स्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम् वरत्रासत्राण स्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम्
sakṛnnatva natvā
sakṛnnatva natvā sakṛnnatva natvā
kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate
kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate
sakṛnnatva natvā kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate
sakṛnnatva natvā kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate sakṛnnatva natvā kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate
madhukṣīradrākṣā
madhukṣīradrākṣā
madhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ
madhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ madhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ
madhukṣīradrākṣā
madhukṣīradrākṣā madhukṣīradrākṣā
madhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ
madhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ madhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ. So we'll now recite all the 4 lines of the 15th verse twice.
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ varatrasatrāna स्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम् sakṛnnatva natvā kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate madhukṣīradrākṣā madhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ varatrasatrāna स्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम् sakṛnnत्वा natvā kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ.
So now we just learned how to chant 15th verse. Now we will listen to Priya, Paramesh, Mahinta and Karthik and learn how to recite the same 15th verse in Gaule Ragam.
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ
वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम् वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम्
वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम् वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम्
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम् śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम्
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम् śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम्
sakṛnna natvā kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate sakṛnna natvā kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate
sakṛnna kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate sakṛnna kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate
madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ
madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ
sakṛnna kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ
sakṛnna kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ
sakṛnna kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ sakṛnna kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ
शरज्योत्स्नाशुद्धां शशियुतजटाजूटमकुटाम् वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम् सकṛन्नत्वा नत्वा कथमिव सतां सन्निदधते madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ
वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम्
sakṛnnatvā natvā kathamiva satāṃ sannidadhate
madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ
phaṇitayaḥ
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम् सकṛन्नत्वा नत्वा कथमिव सतां सन्निदधते madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ वरत्रासत्राणस्फटिकघटिका पुस्तककराम् सकṛन्नत्वा नत्वा कथमिव सतां सन्निदधते madhukṣīradrākṣāmadhurimadhurīṇāḥ phaṇitayaḥ.
Let's now go through the meanings of this verse.
We learnt yesterday about the use of alankaras by poets. Alankara Shastra, or science of figure of speech, adds beauty to the ideas expressed and induces happiness to a reader or listener of poetry. Also, the listener is able to memorize and retain what is learned for a long time. I will share one such poetry I learnt in my high school. This is a story of Balakrishna or Lord Krishna as a kid. Lord Krishna, while playing, crawls towards a bullock cart. When he is crawling, just one toe of his leg accidentally touches the cart. Due to the impact of Bhagavan Krishna's touch, the cart is thrown towards the sky. Here, the poet Sukumara Kavi is talking about the story of Shakatasura. Now we will see the beauty of the idea of expression of the poet. The small touch causes a tiny vibration or spandana on the cart, and this spandana sends the cart high towards the sky. Now the bright sun witnesses the cart wheeling towards it at a very high speed. Sun god is normally described as sitting in a 7-horse drawn chariot, gets scared of the cart hurled from the earth towards it, thinking it can break its own chariot. Now the sun wants to protect itself from the cart and decides to hide under the ocean. So sun goes down at great speed towards the ocean. Deep under the ocean and in depths of earth's core is total darkness. Normally, darkness is the enemy of light, and this darkness, seeing the sun come down with great force towards the ocean, decides to escape from its place under earth's crust and rise towards the sky. This causes the entire world to be in darkness. When we jump into water, we know water splashes upwards. Similarly, when sun dives into the ocean at very high speed, there is a huge splashing of water, and the force is so huge that the water droplets end up high in the sky and start glittering. Now, let me tell you what the poet was talking about. Such long story was just to say that the sun has set and daylight is replaced by total darkness, and beautiful twinkling stars appear in the night sky. Isn't it interesting to see how a simplest fact like sunset and appearance of stars in the night sky is explained so beautifully by this poet? Also, how the poet explains the Puranic story of Shakatasura killed by Lord Krishna. The ability of poets to convey their ideas with such persuasiveness is due to having Devi's grace.
Now let's come back to see the meaning of this 15th verse of Soundaryalahari. In this verse, Shankaracharya is revealing the power of Devi's grace. He asks, how is it possible for a person not to have words sweeter than the sweetest honey, milk, and sweet grapes if they have done namaskarams to you? This means those who bow down to Devi and pray to her get not just the ability to compose beautiful poetry to convey their ideas with fluency when they speak, she also bestows the power of attracting others. This power of attraction is called Vashikarana Shakti. This verse is called Saraswatya Prayogam, as meditating on this 15th verse can transform an ordinary dumb person to a great poet capable of enthralling the entire world all the time. Let me remind you the story of how Kalidasa became a great poet. Initially, when Kalidasa was growing up, he was a very dull and a brainless person lacking intelligence and fluency. He was insulted by a princess who asked him, Asti kaschit vagarthaha, meaning, can you ever talk sense? That is, can any word that comes out of your mouth have any meaning at all? Depressed because of being insulted, Kalidasa started praying to Mahakali and got her divine blessings and thus got the name Kalidasa. He could use the same three words, Asti, Kaschit, and Vagarthaha, to compose the three kavyas or epics, Kumara Sambhava, beginning with the word Asti, Meghaduta, beginning with Kaschit, and Raghuvamsa, beginning with Vagartha.
In this verse, we can see that Shankaracharya is able to present this beautiful Soundaryalahari to us due to his devotion to Devi, and her grace alone is making him compose verses having so much deeper meaning. Every word of Soundaryalahari is filled with hundreds of ideas. Acharya's words come out from his heart, and Goddess Saraswati is sitting in his tongue as Vagdevata. The words have come out during his deep meditation and during his personal experience of ecstasy of realizing Shiva Shakti Swarupa. It is his personal experience from his practice of Sri Vidya or Devi Upasana. Now let us see how Shankaracharya explains this Vagdevata in this verse. He uses the words śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ to describe Devi as one with a fair complexion, shining and spotless like the autumnal moon. He also says śaśiyutajaṭājūṭamakuṭāṃ, meaning she is wearing the crescent moon on her head. This description is not the form of Saraswati, goddess of learning, but is the form of Shiva Shakti explained in verses 1 to 14. Let us now see the second line, Varatrasatrāna. Varamudra, having one hand in the posture of granting boons, and Trasatrāna, having another hand with the posture of granting protection from fear, called Abhayamudra. This posture of Vara and Abhayamudra refers to Mahalakshmi, and Spatika Ghatika Pustaka means the other two hands holding a rosary of crystals or Spatika Mala and a book.
This only means that she is Matrika Rupa Dharini as referred in the Devi Stuti Ganesha Graha Nakshatra. Remember, we say bhavatīm tam namami in Dhyana Shloka of Matrika Nyasa. this is the same Devi Bhagavatpada is talking about here. Now, I would like you all to take a moment and recall the reference of Adya Lakshmi or Shivashakti Swarupa of Devi in Devi Mahatmyam's Rahasyatrayam section. Here, she transforms into Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, and Mahasaraswati. Mahakali creates a pair of male and female gods. This is explained in the verse Neelakantham Raktabahum Shvetangam Chandrashekharam Janayamasa Purusham Mahakali Sitam Striyam Sarudra Shankarasthanu Kapardicha Trilochanaha Trayi Vidya Kamadhenu Sastri Bhashakshara Swara. This means Mahakali created a god of white complexion and a goddess of blue neck, crimson arms, white body, moon-crested forehead. The created male god was known with different names as Rudra, Shankara, Sthanu, Kapardi, Trilochana. And the created female goddess was known as Trayi, Vidya, Kamadhenu, Stri, Bhasha, Akshara and Swara. Meaning Saraswati along with Shiva, who are both the embodiments of the Sattva Guna, are born out of Mahakali. This is how Adya Lakshmi or the combined Swarupa of Mahakali, Mahalakshmi and Mahasaraswati reveals her form as the pure Sattvic Saraswati, white in color with blue neck. This means Acharya is alluding to the Samashti Swarupa of the Devi as the Trigunatmika, the embodiment of Sattva, Rajas and Tamogunas. This Swarupa is what we call her as Mahashodashi.
This 15th verse is about the upasana or meditation of Devi in her pure sattvic form, and due to this prayer, Sattva-guna increases in the devotee, causing immense memory, sweet words which come out of one's mouth, attracting everyone listening to him. Thus, a noble devotee who has bowed to you even once gets the grace of Mahasaraswati, the goddess of speech and learning.
To that Devi Upasaka, Vagdevata or goddess of learning becomes a personal assistant, says Mahakavi Kalidasa in Shyamala Dandakam as Tasya Gir Devata Kinkari.
śarajjyotsnāśuddhāṃ indicates this Sattva Guna. There are two important things we need to note in this verse. When you think of Goddess Saraswati, we will always get the image of Veena. But in this verse, Veena is not in her hands. The second point is Shankaracharya does not use the name of Mahatripurasundari or Lalita or Sharada or any other known name in any verse of Soundaryalahari. We see the constant reference made by Bhagavatpada to the word Sharad or the autumn season. By using this one word Sharad, we believe he refers to two things. One, to the goddess Sharada, he installed in Śṛṅgāri, and thus indirectly indicates the Veena instrument, which is not mentioned in this verse. Two, to Mahatripurasundari as Shivashakti Swarupa, also called Adya Lakshmi, as the Samashti Swarupa of Mahakali, Mahalakshmi and Mahasaraswati, due to the reference of crescent moon on the forehead.
Also, we can say that Shankara praises her as the Vagbhavakuta in the Sattva form in this 15th verse. Panchadashi mantra has 3 kutams, and the first is Vagbhavakutam. In this verse, this kutam is being invoked. Now, we will move on to verse number 16 and learn how to chant.
Kavīndrāṇāṃ cetaḥ
Kavīndrāṇāṃ cetaḥ, Kavīndrāṇāṃ cetaḥ,
कमलवनबालातपरुचिं
कमलवनबालातपरुचिं कमलवनबालातपरुचिं
कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिं
कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिं कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिं
भजन्ते ये सन्तः
भजन्ते ये सन्तः भजन्ते ये सन्तः
कतिचित् अरुणामेव भवतीं
कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं
भजन्ते ये सन्तः कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं
भजन्ते ये सन्तः कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं भजन्ते ये सन्तः कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं
विरिञ्चिप्रेयस्याः
विरिञ्चिप्रेयस्याः विरिञ्चिप्रेयस्याः
तरुणतरशृङ्गारलहरी
तरुणतरशृङ्गारलहरी तरुणतरशृङ्गारलहरी
विरिञ्चिप्रेयस्यास्तरुणतरशृङ्गारलहरी
विरिञ्चिप्रेयस्यास्तरुणतरशृङ्गारलहरी विरिञ्चिप्रेयस्यास्तरुणतरशृङ्गारलहरी
गभीराभिर्वाग्भिर्विदधति सतां रञ्जनममी
विदधति सतां रञ्जनममी विदधति सतां रञ्जनममी
गभीराभिर्वाग्भिर्विदधति सतां रञ्जनममी
गभीराभिर्वाग्भिर्विदधति सतां रञ्जनममी गभीराभिर्वाग्भिर्विदधति सतां रञ्जनममी. We will now recite all the 4 lines of the 16th verse together 2 times.
कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिं भजन्ते ये सन्तः कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं विरिञ्चिप्रेयस्यास्तरुणतरशृङ्गारलहरी गभीराभिर्वाग्भिर्विदधति सतां रञ्जनममी कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिं भजन्ते ये सन्तः कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं विरिञ्चिप्रेयस्यास्तरुणतरशृङ्गारलहरी गभीराभिर्वाग्भिर्विदधति सतां रञ्जनममी.
So we just learned to chant the 16th verse. We will now learn to recite the 16th verse in Gaude Ragam from Priya, Parmesh, Mahinta and Karthik.
कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिं कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिं
कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिं कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिं
भजन्ते ये सन्तः कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं भजन्ते ये सन्तः कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं
भजन्ते ये सन्तः कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं भजन्ते ये सन्तः कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं
कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिं भजन्ते ये कतिचिदरुणामेव भवतीं कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिं भजन्ते ये सन्तः कथिचिदरुणामेव भवतीम्
कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिम् भजन्ते ये सन्तः कथिचिदरुणामेव भवतीम् कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातपरुचिम् भजन्ते ये सन्तः कथिचिदरुणामेव भवतीम्
viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī
viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī
gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī
gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī
viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī
viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī
कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातापरुचिम् भजन्ते ये सन्तः कथिचिदरुणामेव भवतीम् viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातापरुचिम् भजन्ते ये सन्तः कथिचिदरुणामेव भवतीम् viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī
कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातापरुचिम् भजन्ते ये सन्तः कथिचिदरुणामेव भवतीम् viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī कवीन्द्राणां चेतः कमलवनबालातापरुचिम् भजन्ते ये सन्तः कथिचिदरुणामेव भवतीम् viriñcipreyasyāstaruṇatara śṛṅgāralaharī gabhīrābhirvāgbhirvidadhati satāṃ rañjanamamī.
We will now move on to understand a little bit of the meanings what Acharya wants to convey through this 16th verse. We saw in the last verse that the first kuta of Panchadashakshari mantra called Vagbhava Kuta was indicated in the Sattva form. 16th verse is also about Devi's Panchadashi mantras Vagbhava Kuta. But here Bhagavatpada hails Goddess Saraswati as Vagbhava Kuta as a dynamic power or Rajoguna. Meditating on this form of Saraswati blesses the devotee with śṛṅgārarasa. In this verse, Bhagavatpada says, those noble souls who are able to meditate on Devi in the form of reddish color in the Anahata Chakra gets the power to create majestic surge of words and poetry with śṛṅgārarasa. The creators or the poets as well as the poetry created remain ever youthful and have no death. They provide happiness to the readers and listeners that last forever.
This emotion of love or śṛṅgārarasa expressed by Shankaracharya is the principle of attraction between Kameshvara and Kameshvari, the divine love. Only those who can comprehend this concept are called santaḥ in this verse, and only in such enlightened souls Mahasaraswati resides as the ever-youthful Vāgdevata or goddess of speech. Let me quote a verse from Bhartrihari's Niti Shatakam. Jayantite sukrutinaha rasasiddhaha kavīshvaraha nasti yesham yashakkaye jara maralajam bhayam. Victorious are the masters, the rasasiddha poets, whose body of fame has no fear of age or death.
With this, we conclude today's session. Please join us tomorrow, same time, to learn the 17th and 18th verses of Soundaryalahari. Namaste, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Shri Matre Namaha.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.